I have been thinking about this a lot as I'm getting close to my own retirement. And actually, it's a question I have gotten a lot more often, especially whenever I'm talking to younger soldiers and things like that. Um, hey, like, is it worth it to stay 20 years? So I kind of was like, well, let me just start writing about it and see where it takes me. And I've ended up with, I think, the longest article on my website, despite trying to keep it kind of short. But so I'm going to just kind of go over a little bit of my thoughts and reflections looking back on my 2 decades of being in the Army. So, in short, if you're pressed for time, it's gonna depend. I have flip flopped back and forth on whether or not it's worth it so many times, and in my article, I kind of talk about the different phases, different reenlistment periods, things like that, to try and kind of walk through and think through why did I actually stay versus get out, and is it really worth it? So, first off, like if it wasn't for the pension, I would not have stayed in. Absolutely not. So the pension absolutely is what kept me in. Now I'm legacy high three, whatever you want to call it. I think that's a great option, but for people that are coming in right now that are under the blended retirement system, if you set yourself up to utilize all the benefits, the matching, continuation pay, all that kind of stuff, I actually do think you could end up with a little better deal. So, yeah, just that match alone is, especially as you go up in rank, is going to become more and more valuable. So, not something I had, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. That 10% differential on the pension payout is definitely something. It's nothing to shake a stick at long term. So, um, yeah. So, long story short, like there's no question the financial benefits and all the other benefits that come along with it, VA benefits. Just there's so many things like that. So the actual overall benefits package is huge. I mean, even for us enlisted folks, it's an amazing benefit package. So if it wasn't for that, I would not stay. And so, I mean, I'll just kind of say that's kind of part of it. But the other thing too is your experience in the military is going to vary. I could put somebody in the exact same units that I was in, probably even at the exact same time, and they would have had a different experience from me. It really boils down to how you interact with the world, how you interpret things, and how you choose to let things affect you as you go through. I've gone through different phases of this. Whenever I was first in, the army was happening to me. Military service was happening to me. I felt zero control over anything. And I don't think that's unique to me. Um, and then over time, it's kind of interesting. You feel like you have more control over things, but you don't really have any more control over things. It's just you get more control in some areas and less control in others. But overall, like, hey, you are here to do a job, and just it is what it is. It is a transaction. Military service, like any job, it's a transaction. You trade your time and energy for some type of compensation. So if you just look at it that way and understand that you really are never more than a number, despite what, like these slogans or whatever, like, like people first or whatever they want to call it today. No, it is a transaction. Like the military will continue to give enough benefits to meet their goals to make sure that they have enough people to do the job that they're supposed to do, which is support and defend, the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. As long as they can achieve that, they're not going to pay you anymore. They're not going to add any more benefits, anything like that. You really are just a number. So just keep that in mind. As soon as you forget that, you'll probably get a reminder soon enough, or at least that's been my experience. But having said that, there is so much more that goes into being in the military. I have gotten a lot of fulfillment. I have personally touched the lives of a lot of different people, and a lot of different people have personally touched my life. And the sum of all my experiences, all of that has made me into the person that I am today. And I couldn't imagine doing it any other way now. I like who I am. I like my family. I like the idea of some of the future things that I'm going to do. So ultimately, I feel like I always end up wherever God meant for me to be. And a lot of times I can't see that at the moment, but I can always look back and go, okay, yep, it all worked out. And this is why that needed to happen. Um, and with that, just talking on the people, I mean, I think a lot of people feel this way, that the people, the relationships, the network, that's really the main thing that kind of helps keep you motivated and push you through to the end. Because if it wasn't for that camaraderie, that just having people in the suck with you, it would be a whole lot harder. And actually, as I've gone up in rank and had different positions and things like that, that is the hardest part of staying in longer, is because it gets a lot lonelier the longer you're in, or at least that's been my experience. I have, for various reasons, because of leadership, and you can't hang out with different ranks, or what, all these different arbitrary rules, or mostly arbitrary rules. Um, I just, yeah, there's very few people I can hang out with, and it has become pretty lonely, and that does drag on you, especially as you move around or other people move around. Like, building long-term friendships and relationships is pretty difficult. But with that too, um, yeah, the kind of the trade-offs, I guess, of staying in is, yeah, it is hard on your body, it is hard on the mind, it is hard on the soul sometimes. And it's kind of a pain to get services. It's like going to the doctor, going to get mental health. Like, there's so many different reasons why people do or do not go and get the help that they need. And I'm no different. So I've definitely ran a lot of miles. I've put in a lot of stuff. I mean, there's people that do a lot more physical stuff than I do. I don't even have like that physical of a job, but just that repetitive, running all the time, doing all these crazy different whatever, like the ACFT, all these different things. I'm not even 40, and I've got arthritis in my foot, and apparently now in my back too. So it's like, oh, well, that's that's nice. It's like those the little memes or whatever, like, the old man, like, like, yeah, military service isn't stressful. Tom 23, and it looks like he's 60. So anyway, but yeah, it does accumulate over time, the physical, the mental, all that. So you definitely have to use use the services that are available, and take care of yourself. And also, too, many of us have families. I got married fairly young. My wife and I, have a son, and it's tough. My wife and I have definitely had plenty of challenges. We have utilized free counseling that has been available to us through Military One Source. That has been so helpful. I really recommend it to anybody. They used to do like the Strong Bonds retreats and things like that. I don't know if they still really do those much anymore. I think funding kind of dwindled after combat deployments and stuff kind of slowed down. But just, it is difficult. And my wife has had, I don't know, she's had all kinds of different jobs to try and bring in some income while I've been in service. So she's done everything from being a bank teller to working at Home Depot to doing substitute teaching. She does dental assisting. That's what she really wants to do. But at the end of the day, all those things, it doesn't necessarily always make financial sense to let her go work just to pay for healthcare, or I mean, to pay for childcare. So there are some things that are helping out with that, like the dependent care flexible spending account can help out a little bit. Childcare aware. I wrote an article about, or I've actually written a couple articles about this, but yeah, it is tough. So I think that that matters a lot, and your family at the end of the day, that's who's going to be left whenever you leave service, whether you stay in one term, two terms, or 30 years. Like, if you get to the end of it and you've ruined your relationships, or harmed your relationships with your family unnecessarily, to get to the end, I just I have a hard time seeing that that's worth it. And it's definitely been a struggle for us. The other thing is, inside the military, your earning potential is very limited. You can only go up so far, and actually, I would argue that even our highest ranking officers and all that, like, they probably don't get compensated equally to what they could on the outside, and a lot of them go on to get really high paying jobs. For me, I know that I could make more money outside the army right now, and I probably will go do that, but um, it is what it is. I mean, a lot of these things that they make us do, like go get college, get these certifications, all this stuff, a lot of it actually, to me, doesn't actually help us be better at our job in the military. I think actually it may detract, just because you're splitting your mental bandwidth, you're taxing your time, all these different things that, like, instead of going to college, like, maybe, hey, let's go and look over all these counseling packets and see how we can help these young soldiers do X, Y, and Z or whatnot. Or, hey, like, let's just lock ourselves in a room with this problem we've got at work and, like, just spend time working on that instead of all the other isms and things and stuff like that. So, yeah, always chasing a promotion is exhausting. Um, but so I guess, I say all that to say it's just really going to depend for you. And my decisions to stay in the military have it's kind of changed over time. The first enlistment, I was terrible with money. Yeah, we had a lot of debt. Uh, Long story short, I came up on the end of my time and I got orders to Germany. And I remember going, I'm not going. Like, I don't, I'm getting out. I'm not doing that. And then shortly thereafter, I got orders, or I was TDY to Korea. And yeah, I still remember being on night shift, and Sergeant Del Rosario, she was kind of pressing me on it, like, like, what's your plan? Like, oh, I'm gonna get out and go to college. It's like, for what? Well, I don't know. Haven't figured that out yet. Okay, how are you gonna pay your bills while you're in college and all that? Like, oh, well, my wife works at Home Depot, and like, how much does she make again? Like, oh, yeah, not much. And long story short, yeah, and she was not being, like, mean about it or anything like that, but she was just like, she knew, like, you have an idea, you don't have a plan. And that really, that was a really helpful conversation. And yeah, so I talked with my wife whenever we got home from TDY, and we're like, yeah, you know what, like, we really aren't prepared to leave the army. We didn't have anything set up. But that was a really important moment because I did not like that feeling. I didn't want to feel forced to stay just because we didn't have anything going on. And also too, I mean, I was much less confident in my own abilities back then. We were less confident in my abilities to earn and make money on the outside back then. Um, and that has shifted over time. But whenever that happened, I had been putting off going to the board, doing all these things, and I kind of had set myself up, to kind of get promoted later, I guess. So I was kind of playing catch up there, and that's when I really decided, like, if you're going to be in the military, you need to do a couple things. One, you need to be in it like you're in it to win it, And two, you need to have an exit strategy and the finances to back that exit strategy up. So if I was to do it again, I would start putting money into a transition fund from day one. 50 bucks a month, 100 bucks a month, 200 bucks a month, whatever, would make you comfortable. But I would have at least, four, five, $10,000 sitting in an account by the end of my first enlistment, so that I had a good cushion, so that I could make that choice to continue to serve or leave on my own terms. But I didn't. And I guess if you're getting value out of the content that I put out on in Enlisted Money, that moment in time, I still look back to that and I still feel that. And that's a lot of why I do what I do today. I don't want anybody else to have to make that decision based on money or anything like that. And yeah, I know like everybody's got to make a living. There's all, most of us can't just quit working at 22 or 24 or whatever. But if you were in a good financial position, didn't have a bunch of debt, had some money saved up, you could have the flexibility to take a job that maybe was a little more fulfilling, that you would do with all of your heart, and be able to do longer. Um, but yeah, so that was a big moment in our life. And so we went to Germany, got there immediately, found out I was deploying. Like literally, like when I say immediately, like my platoon sergeant picked us up from the bus stop to take us to the lodging. And yeah, I mean, he goes, "When was the last time you deployed?" I was like, no, November '07. He's like, "Okay, good. You won't have any dwell time issues. We leave for Afghanistan in March." And I was like, "Oh man," like, so, God bless my wife. Like yeah, she held it together in the car, and, waited until we at least got checked in and got to the hotel room before she broke down and, was crying. I mean, she's like, oh man, just in a foreign country, like we'd never been that far away from home. Or she hadn't, at least. And yeah, so then now she's like, well, great. Now I'm going to be alone in, some foreign country by myself, and you're leaving. And of course, worries and all those kinds of things. So yeah, it was an interesting start to our time in Germany, but we ended up really liking it. And in the end, it worked out to be a pretty good tour. But once again, kind of coming up on that decision on whether or not to get out or stay in. More or less, I did a kind of a short reenlistment just to get us back to the States for a little bit of time. But I ended up, because I was, once again, play it like you're in it to win it. I was like, well, okay, if for whatever reason I decide to stay in longer, then yeah, then I need to make sure I'm setting myself up for success. So sent Branch an email like, hey, I'd really like to do drill sergeant. Like, what do you got? No reply back, nothing. Just the automated message. You've been DA selected for recruiting duty, da 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 da, or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, okay, well, nice. I guess I'm gonna be a recruiter. So we did that and ended up going to Kansas City, and I was a recruiter there for 3.5 years, and I ended up loving it. I hated it at first. Just the way that the Army teaches you to recruit and stuff like that. It's like, basically try and convince everybody to join. I didn't do well trying to do it that way. But by the time I left, I was the highest grossing recruiter in my company at the time, and I did really, really well. I really contemplated staying. But in recruiting, if you stay, then you end up having to be a center leader, whatever. I just wanted to recruit. I really enjoyed working with young people and helping them out. At least the ones that were interested. I didn't try to convince anybody that they needed the Army. Only looking at people that were actually interested. I just didn't have time to waste on people that didn't get it. Um, but but yeah, but that was when, at the end of that time, was when I had to decide, are we going to get out, or am I going to go in death? And that was a really, really tough decision. We had just had my son. Um, we really liked Kansas City. We had family close. We had built some pretty good friends there, and yeah, I kind of knew that if I reenlisted then, like I was probably going to be a lifer. And at by that time, we had kind of started to turn around our personal finances. We had become debt free, other than the mortgage on the house we bought there, and yeah, I mean, we were in a much better financial position. I had my associate's degree. I was probably about maybe halfway through my bachelor's degree, or so, like maybe a little closer to more, maybe. Um, but at the end of the day, we talked everything over. We looked at it. I was actually enjoying some of what I was doing in the Army. I'd just gotten promoted, and um, I guess more or less we just felt like it was the responsible thing to do, the logical thing to do. And yeah, just a lot of people. I had a lot of um, friends and family and all that, that just unequivocally said, "Oh, you better stay in. Like you're stupid if you get out," and all this, and eh, well-meaning advice. But the one thing I didn't understand then, and that they didn't understand, is that the cumulative effects of being somebody you don't really, I guess, being something that you aren't fully, can really wear on you over time. Um, because in the military, you have to present yourself a certain way. Over time, you have to bury some of the unique things about you. You have to hold on to opinions, hold your tongue. You really cannot be fully yourself or at least I feel like I could not fully be myself. And not that I'm a bad person. Like I don't, it's not like anything crazy like, oh, I want to get out and go do drugs, or I don't know, whatever, whatever unnoble things people might think about. But no, it's just, I would like to be able to have an opinion. I would like to be able to hang out with people that were more similar to me. I actually get along with a lot of officers and warrant officers more so than some of my enlisted folks, and so but you can't hang out with them. Yeah, and my wife encountered that a lot of like, oh, your husband's a whatever, like, oh yeah, well my husband, he's higher rank, so we can't hang out, and so that wears on her too. And it's I don't know, yeah, I get it, whatever. um but it there's just so many different things like that, so many different limitations, and then just not getting to control where you live, what you do for work. Because yeah, I mean, I'm in the Army or whatnot, but I could get an assignment to do any number of things. So, maybe not even related to my actual job. And yeah, so I think just that cumulative effect of having to suppress who you are in order to be, the professional leader or whatever image they want us to portray, it can really really wear on you. And I've definitely suffered mental health issues and things like that, mostly in silence, just because I never felt safe to talk about any of that kind of stuff. Also, it's just time consuming, and I was always focused on doing my best at work. And so I was like, well, I could spend hours dealing with whatever, or I can just figure it out, and move on. And so I kind of just deal with stuff. I would not say that that is a good thing to model. I've been, I guess, somewhat successful as far as my Army career goes, but it has come at a cost. And that's probably the toughest thing about military service, and that is something that I have written about. I think I forget the name of the article, but more or less, I think I titled it, the real sacrifice of getting to 20 that nobody talks about. And yeah, I mean, that's one of those that they just don't people don't talk about. And maybe I don't know, maybe I took the, being, being what the army wanted me to be too far. Maybe I followed too many rules. I don't know. But yeah, I've done exactly what I was supposed to do, and gotten some promotions and things like that. But in order to do that, um, yeah, Sergeant Lovinger always overshadowed Brandon. And so, yeah, and Brandon has felt very suppressed and very lonely. And yeah, I part of that is why I've created some of these things on the outside and done different things to try and get some fulfillment that I wasn't getting from my time in the army. But yeah, I don't know. I'll quit rambling about it. But that's just it is something to consider. And so I would say if you are not really enjoying what you're doing, then you really need to consider some different options. I really do wish that I would have run across Doug Nordman's uh, article, like "Don't Gut It Out to 20," and really thought about that sooner in my career. Um, there's there's a lot to be said for that, and there are a lot of options. You could get out and go to the reserves. You could do any number of things. The fact is, 93% of America does life without ever serving a day in the military. And a big portion of your benefits that you get, you would get whether you stayed to 20 or only did 4. So, all the VA benefits, things like that, you have access to those no matter whether you served. Really, I think most of them after like 90 days of service, like you have benefits. So yeah, a lot of those benefits are there whether you serve 20 or not. um, but all in all, I think that I really have done a lot of good things. I think that the biggest difference now is that I just have the confidence in myself, and also the financial stability and all that. So over time, I think like my confidence and my dependence on the army have kind of swapped. So whenever I first started, I was very dependent on the military for our needs, and I was not very confident in my ability to earn the same type of benefits and things like that. But over time, that has shifted, and now I really truly believe that the Army needs me a lot more than I need the Army. And it is what it is. It's nothing personal, but um, the military can't give me the things that I value the most, which is time with family, flexibility, and fulfillment in what I'm doing. And so it's time to go. I'm going to get my retirement, and I'm going to go move on to the next chapter. I personally feel like the things that I can and will do after service will be, on the whole, much more impactful and have the ability to reach a lot more people than the positions that I may hold within the Army. So, so yeah. So overall, I'm really grateful that I stuck with it. I It has not been easy, and there are definitely days that it's like, dude, man, forget this. Like I'm so over it. But that's generally whenever I forget that I'm anything other than just filling a position at the time. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I really do think that it's important to remember that, like, you might want to feel like like the military cares about you, but it can't. That can't be true, because as soon as that becomes true, then you're no longer expendable, and everybody has to be expendable. Everybody has to be able to be replaced when something bad happens or when you leave. Like, none of us gets to stay forever. We're all moving up and out, and there's going to be somebody right behind us to fill whatever slot, whatever position, whatever role we're playing at the time. It has to be that way. We can't be a permanent fixture in the military. None of us can. And So really, I think to me, it's kind of one of those where like the army song kind of sums it up. At the end of the day, you're here for a time, but as soon as you leave, and the army goes rolling along, and so will I.